Heyo, we haven't been in this spot in a while. I haven't really been doing too much like reading in the bedroom now that I have my recliner, but I do love this spot. I swear. It is July 4th and I have the day off from work, which is great. However, I'm very lonely and there's nothing to do because everything's closed. And honestly, this holiday is not one that I feel like I want to celebrate. So I'm just taking it as a day off. But where that leaves us is welcome to July's video. We are doing another husband picks what I read this month challenge. However, unlike December, they're not a surprise to me and they're not all wrapped up, which is sad because that's what I loved about December's challenge. But there's no time to be wrapping up books and there's really no point. But I had him choose the 9 other books. He did choose like the first one I read that I'll talk about in a second, but I told him to put the books in the order that I should read them. So a little bit different this time around. And I finished the first book out of the 10. I like the number 10, so I had him picked 9 others. But the first one he picked out of 3 books. So like there was the one I'm about to talk about. I was also thinking of reading This Could Be Forever by Ebony Liddell, or Call Your Boyfriend or Call From Your Boyfriend, something like that. But he chose Midnights with You by Claire Osonko. This follows Dee Dee, who has a very tough relationship with her mother, and it's definitely led to her not really knowing herself and really living in a lot of fear and anxiety. And yeah, and so this is not a light read. I went into this thinking it was going to end like really wholesome, and it does, but you're dealing with a lot of like the mother-daughter dynamic that's complicated and difficult to read, especially if you're familiar with this kind of like verbal abuse, and there are a little bit of physical descriptions. And then there's this boy that moves in next door, and she, in exchange for tutoring him, she asks him to teach her how to drive. And we spend a few midnights and middle of the nights with the two of them, and we see their relationship going, and then we see the relationship between her and her mother, and she's a senior. And yeah, I mean, I read the first 200 pages in the little clips that you'll see. I went to a bookstore and then I went to a library, flew through the first 200 pages, was so into it. And then when I picked it back up the next day, it took a turn in the plot, and I just was kind of more sad than I was happy about this whole thing. And their relationship dynamic was reminding me so much of Rumi and Juno? No. Oh, now I'm blanking. The K-pop Demon Hunters. I'm so obsessed with that movie and the soundtrack. But that was kind of the dynamic I was getting a little bit, which was interesting. But yeah, I mean, I gave it 4 out of 5. Very good. Not a happy, light read. So go into that knowing that. But I definitely think it's a great book, and I wish I had it as a teen, so I'm glad that YA readers have this now. But let's get into what he picked for me. I won't get into too much synopses. I will just share what the books are. So first, the next one that I'm about to start reading is Bedazzled by Ryan LaSala. I think this would be the last of his entire catalog that I haven't read. Beyond the upcoming one, maybe. I'll have to verify that, but Bedazzled. And then after that, he chose See You Yesterday by Rachel Lynn Solomon. I would have liked to have read Today, Tonight, Tomorrow before reading this. I don't think this is related to that, but I just feel like that's just kind of the order of how things were releasing. But I always trust Rachel Lynn Solomon's work, so we're going to go with that after that. And then Death in the Cards by Mia P. Menensala, which love the cover, love the drink. Tarot, like, love that. He chose that for me. Then we are going to move on to Transmogrify, which is a short story collection about trans magic and trans writers and trans characters. Very excited about that. This has been on my TBR for a little bit now. Then going into a sadder book, or a more melancholy one, The Phone Booth at the Edge of the World. It's, I don't think it's translated, but the chapters are very short, and I'm ready to get my heart torn with this one. I hate that it's like number 5 on the list, but next, Give Me a Sign by Anna Sortino. Also has been major on my TBR list for a while. I have a mom that's hard of hearing, and so, just anything with deaf culture, hard of hearing, that kind of rep, I definitely want to read because I want to understand more of it and learn more of it. So there's Give Me a Sign. And then after that, we got some bisexual rep. Finally Fits by Marissa Cantor. And what's great is I did the event for her. I think it was my first event hosting at the bookstore, and just, fun story was when I met Dahlia Adler. She asked me what are some other bi rep YA that I would recommend, and I could not think of anything beyond her own work and this one, but I haven't read it, and so I'm like, I want to read it and understand it, all that stuff, but I'm like, where's my bisexual rep YA? I need it, but Finally Fits. And then after that, True Life in Uncanny Valley by Deb Coletti. I think I tried to read this for my most anticipated 2025 releases, and I just didn't get into it at the time, so I'm very intrigued to get into it because he picked it, and this sounds like a book he would pick. And then the last one to read would be Kiss the Girl by Zoraida Cordova, which is from the Meant to Be series that maybe Disney, I don't know, but it's retellings of the princesses, this one being the Little Mermaid, Ariel. And I love a good, like, pop star or, like, singer, romancy type of deal. So we're going to end with that. Hopefully I can get to all of them. I am most hopeful about Give Me a Sign, See You Yesterday, and I think Death in the Cards, probably. So I'll keep you posted. He picked some really interesting ones, and that's why I always love having him pick, because he picks some really unique titles. So, Bedazzled first. Let's get into it. Hey yo, I just came back inside from reading outside, and it is so difficult to read outside, y'all. Like, there was so many little spiders, and I was just freaking out, and they were on the table, and they were on the ground, and, like, I was just flinching at every piece of movement, and I'm like, I hate anxiety so much. Anxiety. Anywho, we are almost 100 pages in to Bedazzled, and it's okay so far. I mean, this is one of Ryan LaSala's earlier works, so, like, I'm not, like, anticipating much for, this, but I like that it's set in Boston, and this is about the main character and his ex that are in the same, like, convention, or at the same convention, and or the main character's trying to win a cosplay competition, and yeah, like, it's definitely, like, plot, definitely into the plot, but I just wanted to tell y'all that I tried to read outside. I'm definitely not an outside reader, but, like, the air is so nice, like, the wind is just beautiful. Like, this is a gorgeous day off, but I just wish I was taking more advantage of it. I mean, I'm trying. I'm doing my best. So that's the update. I don't think I've given an update since the last clip before the montage of my day yesterday, but I failed to mention that I finished Bedazzled by Ryan LaSala. I gave it, I think, like a 3.5 out of 5 stars, just slightly above average. I'm even struggling to remember. It's been like probably a week since I've finished it. And I thought it was cute. I think if you're looking for a lighthearted read, this is definitely that. And, conventions and conventions and cosplay and cosplay competition. And I think this would be pitched as second chance romance, I would imagine. And it goes back and forth between the past and the present with the main character and his ex, Raffi. Raffi is the main character. Not much bedazzling. Like, I thought when I saw Bedazzled, like, that a lot of things were going to be bedazzled, but I guess not. And yeah, like, I had a sweet ending. And yeah, there's really nothing more to say. I mean, I think it was a solid pick from my husband, but I could definitely see myself down the line, like, kind of forgetting key moments of this book. But the general gist is there. So that was Bedazzled. The second book I moved on to, because I'm almost done with it, is See You Yesterday by Rachel Lynn Solomon. And this is a time loop YA romance. And we follow our main character, Barrett Bloom, which I cringe at that name. I'm sorry. I don't like the name Barrett. I think it's kind of it doesn't sit well with me. It follows Barrett Bloom, and she's a freshman in college, and she's starting her first day, and she immediately gets like a whole slew of bad events. Like, her enemy in high school is her college roommate. There's a boy in her physics class that is a complete a-hole, and then we have her setting fire to the frat building party that she went to. So there's that. And then she wakes up the next day and it's the same first day, and we follow as the September 21st, the first day of college, keeps repeating, and lo and behold, that a-hole from the physics class is also stuck repeating the same day. So, like, the concept's definitely interesting, and as you can see, I got not much left. Definitely fast-paced for being a 420-page book. What I am not really liking is the main character. I find her kind of annoying. I'm just waiting for an explanation, I think, and I want it to all make sense in my mind, like, just so I can, put all the pieces together and be like, oh, I see what's going on, and I, like, have some theories, but I'm not 100% on those theories. I don't know. I already think I'm going to unhaul this. I really enjoy Rachel Lynn Solomon's work. I've read The X Talk. I've read their debut. I think You'll Remember Me When I'm Gone or something like that. That was amazing when I read it back in the day. I really want to read Today, Tonight, Tomorrow. And I wanted to read that first before getting into this because I thought it was connected somehow, and it might be. I'm not 100%, but I think this is a standalone, so no worries on that if you got confused because they look very similar. I have the book here. As you can see, they look kind of similar. So that's See You yesterday. I hope I said See You yesterday, not See You tomorrow. But anywho, I'm really excited about the book I'll be reading next, Death in the Cards. Yeah, my plan is to wrap up the last, 50 pages. I only have 50 pages left. I could do that in an hour, and then we'll see where we're at. I'm really tired. Today is a dreary, rainy day, and I love that for reading, but I'm also just like very sleepy. And yesterday I went to the Worcester Art Museum and I got this wrap and magnetic brooch. Very, very cool. And then went to a marketplace called Crompton Collective. That was really fun. And then went out to lunch with my family. So that was a nice, fun-filled day. And then my husband's been really into a Yakuza game, but it's called a Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii or something like that. It's a wild game, but he's been playing it a lot, and I love that for me because I get to focus on my reading. And then I also painted something, and I'll show it. I painted this yesterday. I got inspired because like we were in the art museum and I was like, I would really love, like, I don't know if it's in shot anywhere in any of my prior videos, but I have a really awesome repo that I found at a thrift store of a famous painting of a woman reading. It's like a yellow dress and she's in a chair, side profile and all that. And I was just like, I would love to have like something similar to that, but like with Black women, you know, because representing all that. And I was like, what if I try? And I'm like, it came out pretty good. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like I sketched it. I took like some reference photos, or like, you know, I took inspo from some reference photos when I did a search, and then I drew it out, and then I wanted to find my paint and my markers and my colored pencils, and voila. So I'm gonna hang it up. I really like how it came out. So I will keep you posted on how I think of See You Yesterday when I finish it, and then I will move on to Death in the Cards and let you know where I'm at from there. We have not been striking gold with my husband's picks, unfortunately. I tried getting into Death in the Cards by Mia P. Menensala, and I'm DNFing this. I got to about 80 pages, and something about the writing was not working for me. I think that the main character, like, the personality just did not work. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what more to say about it, because I wanted it to be really good, and it was just kind of disappointing. But, you know, better to know that than to force it and end up in a reading slump. So we're DNFing that. I'm going to have him pick out a new book for to make the 10, so I could keep cycling through. But, you know, so far we've gotten rid of 2 books from my collection, and I take that as improvement, because I want to make sure that my collection and books that I need to read are, you know, being filtered out and being the most fulfilling that they can be. So unhauling that one. I'm now moving on to Transmogrify, which is 14 Fantastical Tales of Trans Magic. I'm already like 70 pages in, I think. Oh yeah, 77. I mean, short stories are meant to kind of just like fly through, right? This is edited by G. Heron Davis. And yeah, I mean, so far, I'm not, like, the first 3 stories are all set or like focused on a magic school. And so far they all kind of, well, not all of them, but like, it's not, short story collections are hard because you're not going to really enjoy all stories, because some authors' writing may not work for you, or just the plot that they chose or to write is just not clicking. But, you know, we'll see how the rest of it goes. I'm closing the store today, and then tomorrow I'm opening training in our other location. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. I'd like to read some more tonight. We'll see how that goes. My stomach's been having some issues, and that's been really distracting. We're having so much fun. So I'll keep you posted on my progress for that. It's certainly been a while since we last checked in. It's July 19th, almost done with July, which is nuts. I'm like, I already have to send out August schedule soon, and it's crazy. Where are we at? I am on book number 7. Last update I gave y'all was that I believe I finished See You Yesterday, and I'm unhauling that. And then I tried to get into what I was really looking forward to out of the 10 books, Death in the Cards, and I DNF'd that one at about 80 pages. The writing just wasn't clicking, and then I didn't like the main character, and I didn't like where the story was going, all that kind of stuff. Then I picked up the next book, which I'm struggling to remember what that is. Oh, Transmogrify. That's where you would have seen some clips of me trying to read that. I got about 100 pages into that and realized one evening that I tried 2 other times before this, and now that I was a few stories in, none of them were standing out to me, and I was like, okay, I think it's time to part ways with this book. Then I moved on to the next one, being The Phone Booth at the Edge of the World, and I was really looking forward to that one because it seemed to have short chapters. I was really interested in the story. But then I noticed it was a translated work, and my gripe with translated works is if the translation's not done well, it's very flat writing. There are barely any emotions that come through in a translated work for me, and so it's very hard to really enjoy it. And then the other aspect is I haven't really gone through a really bad grieving period, and I haven't really experienced heavy grief, and so to read a novel where its focus is on grief and moving on and everything, I wasn't relating to it, and I feel like someone could fare much better reading that. So that was also a DNF. And I got 200 pages in before I was like, all right, I don't want to read anymore. I think I get the gist. And we parted ways. Then finally, we got a really good book out of the slew of books so far. I finished Give Me a Sign by Anna Sortino. And I was very, very much looking forward to this. This follows, what's our main character's name? Lila. And she is really struggling because her parents she's hard of hearing, and her parents really want her to integrate herself into the hearing world and trying to push the disability aside and blend basically. Lila really wants to learn ASL, American Sign Language, and so she's trying to teach herself that, but she remembers when she was at a summer camp that its focus is to give deaf, hard of hearing, blind teens and kids an opportunity to be amongst each other, learn from each other, and just have a fun summer. And she asks if she could be a junior counselor, and she is offered a position, and she takes it, and she attends the summer camp and works as a counselor and meets a whole variety of different characters, especially our main love interest, Isaac, who uses a lot of sign language and is really patient and teaches her. It was just so sweet. It was really great, and I loved learning what certain aspects of life is difficult for hard of hearing / deaf people. My mom is hard of hearing. And so, just being reminded that, like, even if someone is able to fake it and, like, make it seem like they're not, it is still a challenge and it's still a disability. And yeah. And it was just a really sweet story. So I highly recommend, and I had a feeling I was really going to enjoy this. So I'm glad that we got a win there out of the 10 so far. And then I'm moving on to, or I'm about 80 pages into Finally Fits by Marissa Cantor. And what's great about this, I'll put up the cover there because I took off the dust jacket. But what's great is this was my first event that I hosted at the bookstore, and she signed it and personalized it, which was really great. And I'm really enjoying this one. This one's so up my alley. It follows Ava Fitzgerald, who goes by Fitz, and she runs a Instagram account, If the Shoe Fits. It's very clever. And she is an Instagram influencer who focuses on fashion and upcycling, and she gets sponsored by fashion brands and all this kind of stuff. After going through a bad breakup with her ex-girlfriend, she wanted to try to win her back, but now she reunited with an old friend from when they were kids. She reunites with Levi, and they are gonna form a fake relationship to make both their exes jealous because they got some exes. So, and then of course, I feel like we know what's gonna happen here. They are totally gonna end up as a thing. Really, really enjoying it and cannot wait. I hate that I have to work today. Like, I just want to spend all day reading this. So there's that. And then there's 2 more books following this one, and then we'll see if I get to that before the end of the month. I should be able to, but we'll see. Hello. Husband's home, and we are just gonna have a chill evening, I hope. Shout out to my little new keychain from Book Babe Designs. So cute. Had to shout that out. But also, I got into the audiobook of The Night and the Moth. It's gorgeous book right here. By Rachel Gillig, and I'm loving the audiobook a ton. I'll drop the name of the narrator somewhere in this clip, but just so, like, the accent is just working for this gothic, like, gray, like, if I'm to describe the book in a color, it would be gray for sure. Aesthetic, and yeah, no, it is really good. And, like, I mean, it's interesting because, like, we're dropping F-bombs, and that's really jarring for how the rest of this novel is reading, but I can already see Rory and Six. Oh man, like, yeah, they are feeding the right energy. It's what was it? It was like a scraper or something, a chisel. I think she held the chisel up to his like under his chin, something like that. It's almost like the knife to the throat kind of situation. Yeah, 50 pages in, not part of this challenge, but just want to, throw that in there that I am listening to the audiobook for that. Yeah. Happy Sunday. It's raining. I'm taking a personal day. Got my drink. This is like I forget what they call it, but like Hershey chocolate, caramel, sweet cream. It's very sugary. So my energy level is going to be on 10,000 today. But what I want to share is I'm planning on moving my desk into the bedroom. And I'm thinking of moving these 2 cases in the white spot where my book screen was, and have like this whole wall be brown bookish beauty, and then this wall be these white shelves, and then I have some other, like, one more 3-tier shelf that could go on the other side of the bigger one, and put some like fancy art on the whole wall there and see how that turns out. So that's that, and I'm not gonna try and do it all in one go, to my husband's pleading. So we're gonna try and just move the desk, move the chair, the reading chair back in here, and see how that goes. So I will keep you posted on that progress. Hello. It's done. Yeah, big changes here. It's very cool, and I'm very happy. So you'll see more of this, sure enough. Good morning. I am starting off my day feeling a little sicky. And that is concerning. Hopefully I'll be okay. It's like really my throat, and I've been waking up really groggy, so I don't know what's going on. But I got my tea, so hopefully that helps with my throat. I found this Reading Nook tea from Plum Deluxe, I believe is the company, and it's like rose petals and chamomile and vanilla. It's so good. Like, I now need to buy like 10 packs of them because it's delicious. So I have that, and then last night I was in a bit of a reading slump, so I didn't get any reading done in Kiss the Girl, although I did read in the morning, which was great. But I'm halfway through this very quick children's novel based on Tinkerbell. So Disney Fairies Bleak Watch Chronicles, Tinkerbell and the Lost City, and it's a very steampunk, which is such an interesting contrast. And like, I feel like Tinkerbell being involved in a steampunk type of setting is very cool. So far I'm 100 pages in. I read 50 last night, I read 50 this morning, and I am going into work a little later today, so hopefully I can bang this out today. I think chances are pretty high. So that's what we're doing. Just taking a chill morning so I can prevent getting sick. And yeah. Hello. So it is July 18th? No, it's July 25th. Wow, I'm way off. But I want to give an update that I finished Finally Fits by Marissa Cantor, and it's another 5 stars. So give me a sign. Finally Fits, I highly recommend. Finally Fits involves fashion, social media. Our main girl is an influencer for like upcycled fashion, and you know, she gets sponsorships with fashion brands, all that kind of stuff. Fake dating is a big plot in this book. Our main girl Fitz, she has a girlfriend at the beginning of the novel, but the girlfriend and her have an argument that leads to them taking a break, and amidst this break, Fitz is losing her mind. She's supposed to focus on this fashion class that she's taking, and she's just losing her passion. She's losing herself, or what she thought was herself. Then enters Levi, who used to be her best friend when they were younger, and he left when they were about 10 years old. Chance encounter on the 1 train, I believe, and now they have reconnected and form a fake dating plot or ploy, whatever, to try and make their exes jealous. But we know where that goes, you know, and I think the writing was super fast-paced, easy breezy novel set in New York City, and the author definitely knows New York City, thinks highly of it, and just getting that description of the city in there. And every book I read about New York City makes it feel like a magical place. And I visited earlier this year, and I feel like I didn't get the full idea of New York City, if you will. Like, I feel like I missed something. I mean, it was pretty cool, but something about anyone that's lived there or has really spent time in New York City just praises the hell out of it. So I digress. Very, very good. So happy that this worked out and that I finally read it, because it's been like calling out to me, but I've always been afraid because I'm like, what if it's not good? I should have just taken the plunge. So that's finally fits. And then the next book was True Life in Uncanny Valley. However, I just don't think that book's for me. I gave the first chapter a shot. Um, it's I don't know. It's not seeming like my kind of thing. But the last book that my husband chose for me to read is Kiss the Girl by Zoraida Cordova. And this is a part of a series. They're all standalone, but it's part of a series that I believe Disney has involvement in, Disney Hyperion, the publishing house, whatever. It's called the Meant to Be series, and it's adult romance retellings of classic fairy tales. So I know there's a Rapunzel one. I know that this is The Little Mermaid, if you couldn't tell. One for Mulan just came out, and then there's one for Beauty and the Beast. So there's quite a few at this point, and I have one or two. I think I got rid of the Mulan arc, or like the Worth Fighting For one, because I'm not interested in that one. I think I still have By the Book, which is the Beauty and the Beast one. So either way, we are reading this one, where Ariel is a pop star and part of the Siren 7, which is a band with her sisters, and they all have finished their big tour, and they're all going to take a year off. However, their father, is the head of Atlantica Records. He wants to kickstart Ariel's like solo career, and then she meets the lead singer of this band that's about to go on tour, fronted by Eric Reyes, and she's gonna be going on tour with them somehow. So I'm like at about the part where they're about to describe how that happens, and I love it's a pure-hearted Latinx novel that like the culture is just really shining in this book. Like, obviously the author would know how to do a good job for that, but I'm just like very loving this kind of pop star novel with Latinx representation. And yeah, so far so good. 40 pages in, 345 pages in all. We'll see how that goes. Oh yeah, making some focaccia. Let's see how this turns out. Oh my goodness. It came out so good. I can't wait to try it. So, we have reached the end of July. It is July 31st, and I have a few books to share with you. First off, I did finish Tinkerbell and the Lost City, and this was surprisingly really good. It ended on a cliffhanger, and I am very anxiously awaiting the sequel. I, like I said, really enjoy how this kind of takes a steampunk-esque aesthetic and, is set in that kind of world. And what I also enjoyed was this kind of brings you back to the nostalgic, like, Tinkerbell chapter books that they used to do. I don't have one in reach at the moment, but when they did, like, the Disney Fairies book series past, I could definitely see this kind of revitalizing that. And also, I could see this being a movie. Like, I feel like if they were to bring back the classic animated Tinkerbell movies, which I could see this being that. And I also loved having more diversity, and also there is a non-binary character in this, or genderqueer, or there's no label because obviously it's fairies, so we're not putting a label to it in this kind of setting, but otherwise there is that kind of character. Love the group of characters called the Flutterpunks, I believe. Tinkerbell was just Tinkerbell. And where I feel like this kind of falls a little flat is that we're not getting a lot of detail about the city. We get a little context as to how it started, but we're not really seeing a ton of detail. I also loved how this kind of delved into class. It dealt into a bit of, is it communism, capitalism, stuff like that, where it was talking about trading things in exchange for pixie dust, which was their currency in a way. And in this city of Bleakwatch, there are fairies that are talentless instead of having talents like they do in Pixie Hollow. And it's just 200 pages and so much depth to it. Okay, so that's why I highly recommend, if you want to get back into Tinkerbell and just see what something more current is doing, Bleakwatch Chronicles, Tinkerbell in the Lost City. That is my recommendation to you. Then I also read The Leaving Room by Amber McBride, which comes out in October. And this is a novel in verse that follows Gospel, who is the keeper of the leaving room, which is where people go to share their memories before they move on into the afterlife. And Gospel is knowing what the rules are for the leaving room, but they're over time finding that this is not all it's been made out to be. And they meet a girl named Melody and trying to see how they can flourish in a relationship when they seem to be stuck in this middle ground, if that makes sense. And this is primarily focused on youth when they pass on. So, the parts are broken up in the 5 stages of grief, and each of the youth represented for each part of the 5 stages. That's kind of their personality. So, obviously for anger, we have an angry filled child, and then there's also recipes in here, and it was good. I'm not keeping it because I don't think it was that impactful for me, but the concept is really interesting and I really appreciated the story. So that is that. And then back to our main challenge after those 2 diversions. I finished Kiss the Girl by Zoraida Cordova, and I gave this 3.75 stars out of 5. I think the take on The Little Mermaid was unique and cultural and exciting in some parts because, like I said, I've loved anything to do with celebrities, drama, fame, wealth, all that kind of stuff. Media, I really enjoy that as well. And I think this had a great mix of all of those things that I enjoy. However, again, same thing, dialogue was strong, characters were strong. It's the setting. And I don't need a ton of setting described to me, but I need enough to understand that we are going on a tour. We're following them on a tour. I want to know what some of the settings look like, the arenas, the crowd. I just want differences in each of the places to add a little more depth to this book. However, it is a romance, so the main focus is the 2 characters and their romance, obviously. So we're not going to get a lot of that, unfortunately. And then the other thing is this is kind of a little small detail that I wish was in there, but Ariel's supposed to be a merch girl. And she's never really had a job because she's been a pop star. So I'm just can we get a little struggle of that? Is she perfect at her job? I don't know. Maybe she is, and that's why it wasn't in there. But that's my own personal feelings about that. Um, but we finished July. And at the end of it all, I am keeping Midnights with You. Although I'm kind of iffy about it, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, this wasn't what I thought it was going to be. So maybe I'm going to unhaul it because every time I think of that book, I'm just like, ugh. So I might get rid of it. And then I'm keeping Bedazzled, I'm keeping Give Me a Sign, and I'm keeping Finally Fits. So in this challenge, I feel like I'm getting rid of 7 books. And that's pretty good. Like, even if they weren't all wins, and I finished, I think, 5 in all, 5 books in all out of the 10 he picked, that's still pretty good. Like, I do love that I can let go of some books that I may not have gotten to in a long time. Like Kiss the Girl, I wouldn't have gotten to that anytime soon. I wouldn't have read Bedazzled anytime soon, I don't think. I wouldn't have read or tried out, what was the others? See You Yesterday might have taken a little bit to get into. Yeah, so I'm proud of the reading I've done. And I'm happy that I'm letting go of some titles, and hopefully I donate them to Little Free Library, so hopefully people will pick them up and love them. And yeah, July has been a pretty decent month. And on to August, where I will be reading whatever I want because I have many themes and I have many desires to read certain books, and I'm just like, it should be whatever I feel like reading. So that's what we're gonna do. But thank you for watching. As always, I do this for fun. I appreciate any views, comments, likes, subscriptions. If you want to keep following me each month for challenges or just reading updates. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.